Welcome back to Living Local. Most new businesses can make it past the first few years and then they throw in the towel. But our next guest can change all that and help businesses thrive. He's a CEO and entrepreneur that's known for turning businesses upside down. And joining us via Zoom is Ryan Niddel, who is also this segment's sponsor. How are you, man?
I'm great, thanks. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for joining us, man. So I'd like to hear a little bit of background on you and how you got to where you are today. I know you started your first business at age 10, and your first major success was with a web hosting company, but your journey has been fascinating. So let's hear a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I like to call myself an accidental entrepreneur, like so many of us, where I was very fortunate to be taken under the wing of a local businessman when I started taking care of his cars and his property at the age of 14.
Oh, cool.
And that gave me access to this entire different way to think from a small business owner's mindset. That eventually led to, of all things, studying mechanical engineering, just enough to realize it wasn't for me, but taught me a great thought process of starting with the end in mind. Eventually into web hosting, as you'd made mention of coming on board as a sales professional, then taking over as president and CEO, and eventually selling it off to a large multinational web hosting company. And then it's been one series of entrepreneurial ventures after another, with a nice little in-between spot where I'd love to say it was all sunshine and roses, but fell flat on my face, skinned my knees, and learned a lot of painful lessons that cascade into now as I'm the CEO of a company called Mit 45 and a few other businesses.
Yeah, dude, I find that failure, man, that often teaches you way more than big success. So I love that you mentioned that. And how many companies have you helped? Your career has been fascinating.
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough on my own accord to have partnership in, grow and sell now 4 separate businesses. And then that led to a period of time where I was able to jump in and help consult with a series of businesses. And at this point, it's probably 25 or 30 various businesses that I've helped grow and scale and eventually get towards the point of a potential exit for them. And that's cascaded into board seats now and fractional ownership in different businesses. So it's like this continuing journey of great opportunities and possibilities.
Yeah, and so what are you doing for those companies to help with their growth? And can you talk, I read a little bit about you, and if you can talk about your people over profits mindset and how that can actually increase revenue.
Absolutely. So what I do when I come inside of a business is I laughingly get to be the least intelligent guy in every room. And I generally mean that, where I think quite often as entrepreneurs, we get enamored with the shiny object, with the new big possibility, versus just really keeping things simple, asking why a few times. Why have we made the decisions we've made? Are they serving us in the best capacity? Are they in alignment with where they want us to get to? And quite often what I find when I come into a business, it's, well, just this is always the way we've done it, so we're going to do it more often. And you get to a certain point in most business trajectory where you can't keep doing more of the same things with more vigor and more growth and more time to keep getting those large yields. And so we have to actually simplify things down. Almost all growth, to me, contrary to maybe popular belief, is through simplification, not addition. And to start with, that, to me, that's people, right? People are the lifeblood of every business. And the time in which I skinned my knees the worst, I owned a merchant processing company, processing credit card payments, and I had the exact opposite mindset. It was what could go in my pocket first, what was the most amount of money I could make, and it didn't work out very well for me. It actually made me, helped encourage me to go broke, if you will.
Yeah.
And so as I reposition and look into the future, I started to make this conscious decision of saying, look, if I can benefit people and generally care about them, want to make sure, quality health insurance, quality retirement plans, incredibly aggressive compensation that's tied to the bottom line for some performance growth initiatives. If I do that, and I generally mean that, it's not for gamification, because I generally care about the people. If I take the simplification that I believe works the best, and I put people in front of the profits almost always take care of themselves over a long enough period of time. And that's really the thing as entrepreneurs. Can we play the longer game and the short game simultaneously when quite often they're in conflicting forces?
Yeah, dude, that's fascinating. And I have to wonder, a lot of times it's just kind of going with those small steps first. And so what are some of the strategies that you find most effective, when you're starting with something? Because you can't change the big picture right away, but you can change, what's happening tomorrow, and eventually that kind of cascades into something bigger.
It does, absolutely. And one of the first things that I look at is what's going on with what is referred to as that cash conversion cycle. Right? And the cash conversion cycle is nothing more than from the time you say you want to order a product, good, or service to the time you turn that into profit, or revenue on the backside of the sales cycle. How long is that to start with, and how can we maximize that? How can we get better payment terms potentially for raw materials? How can we get our customers to pay in advance? So we start to really enhance the cash flow of a business, which sounds incredibly simple, but sometimes takes a little bit more work than just hoping it happens that way. And it's creating good strategic relationships with vendors and suppliers. It's creating even better relationships with customers, and really spending time to get to know them and their pain points and ask them for some help as we grow. So it's almost always a cash flow issue, right? It's almost laughable to me in today's world where we want to celebrate the top line revenue.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you can celebrate that top line revenue, but you can't spend top line. You have to spend profit. And if your cash flow doesn't keep up with the growth, all the revenue in the world doesn't actually help.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So you preach that, and this kind of ties into that, that perfect processes don't exist and that you should always be refining it. And so that kind of leads me to how can businesses adapt to the changing market conditions during rather uncertain times like we're living through right now?
Absolutely. So, as entrepreneurs, I do believe it's our responsibility to figure out how to stay at least in lockstep with current trends, if not even a little ahead of them. And when you're running a business that's growing and scaling, when you're worried about staffing and profit and revenue and all the things that go into it, one of the things I think is paramount is to find those external sources that you can lean into for knowledge and for insight, and whether that's a local, EO or YPO type of chapter, whether that's paying for a consultant, whether that's, any number of different things that could exist, a mastermind group even. It's
Yeah.
paramount for us to get external information so that we know what other industries and what other sectors are doing so that we don't spin our wheels, right? I think quite often we get stuck in these little vortexes, these silos of because you launched your business, because you created it, you might be the most successful entrepreneur in your social circle. And if you don't look for someone from the outside to come in and provide perspective, I think you really shortchange what's possible for you and your organization.
Yeah, and so when you use these kind of tactics, how long is the process before businesses see actual change? That might be something that people are like, I want to see change immediately, but it takes some time, right?
It does take some time, right? I think anybody that comes in and says there's this one moment in time, you snap your fingers and poof, magically, all these great things happen. While that happens occasionally, I think it's praying to a false idol, if you will. If you're in that sort of position, you need that big hit, that one big grand slam. I would have to actually encourage you to slow down and analyze all the aspects of your business to figure out, how can you get an extra 1% additional growth in sales, 1% reduction in cost of goods, 1% better payment terms, where those simultaneous 1%, depending on the size and scope of a business, that can actually lead your business being 19% more lucrative, right, as an enterprise value. And so much of this is really focusing on the micro versus the macro, which isn't sexy. It's not fun. It's not what's glamorized. But yet, for me, it's what's proven to work over and over again.
Yeah, and something that might be, you might be finding that's working as well is AI. And are you finding that, businesses should use AI to improve efficiency and decision making?
I absolutely believe the entrepreneurs right now that are not paying attention to AI are going to be left in the dust. And the reason I share that is not because AI is going to take over commerce. I actually don't believe that's going to happen. What I do believe is going to happen is AI is going to allow us for quicker iterations, better and more impactful decisions in shorter amounts of time, and should be used to augment the output by our current team. Where every business that I have ownership in or that I get to sit on the board of, we're really pushing initiatives where AI is at the focal point of each part of the growth trajectory of a business. That's everything from finance to sales to marketing to even operational efficiencies, where we're not replacing staff. I think AI is getting a bad rap right now, but you're going to replace staff, and that's the driver. What I'm
Sure.
looking for is if my graphic designers can turn out 8 times as many iterations in the same amount of time, that's a great process enhancement. That's so much more efficiency, so many more iterations to get to that final place so much quicker
Yeah.
versus saying, gosh, let's cut back on staff.
Yeah, and before I let you go, we're almost out of time here, but what advice do you have for an entrepreneur out there that's looking to get started, or even those that are already started and are kind of struggling with the current economy?
Absolutely. So now is a great place to, oddly enough, buy instead of build. What I mean by that is I think if you're on the precipice of wanting to start your entrepreneurial journey, you might want to consider what it looks like to buy a business that already exists that's maybe flatlined in revenue. The reason for that is they have some people, they have some processes, they have some technology, and that's so much of the heavy lift to start with. And same thing if your business has been operating for a series of years and you've hit a little bit of a sticking point, one of those glass ceilings, as they say, it's time to break through it. And breaking through it is almost always a combination of a new set of people, a new process, or a new piece of technology. And the three of those go in this repetitive loop where it could just be one unlock from one person suggesting one piece of tech that when deployed completely changes the outcome of your business itself.
Oh, wow. Hey, Ryan, thanks so much for chatting with me today, dude. You're super inspiring, and I can't wait to follow you and learn more. So thank you so much for being here.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
And thank you. Again, this segment was sponsored by Ryan Niddel. For more information, you can go to ryanniddel.com. We'll have all those details posted at ourquadcities.com. More Living Local continues after the break. Stay with us.